Hello there, Ddraig back with the GCCM mods and the third part of the siege maps. If you fancy watching the other videos, link in the top right hand corner, or there'll be a link at the end of the video. So let's travel to all corners of the Warhammer world and look at the great siege maps on offer. Still to come in this series are the minor settlement maps, but let's finish off the main siege maps first. In the Southlands, there is a group of settlements with the province capital Carolingia, a legendary dwarf hold. One of these settlements is the Hospital. There is also a green screen version, which I'll show in the background. A very straightforward map with a long wall across the map. As the attacker, you should fight along the entire length of the wall or bore holes in the wall, making a prolonged defence in the wall and Riky. It's best to put a little damage on the enemy and then fall back to the centre, blocking up the channels. Even this has an issue, as there's only one capture point, and an enemy can circle around you to attack from all angles, making this a very difficult place to defend. A good solution is to block up the main routes around with a small force to ease slow the enemy down. When attacking, there are many ways to attack when you're inside, so all you need to do is to commit to an all-out attack from all sides and have some fast cavalry to go around the back, which can pay real dividends. The largest trading hub in the old world is of course Marienburg. It is one of the largest ports in the old Warhammer world. However, the Empire despises this place, as Marienburg is fiercely independent, while the Empire would prefer them to be a part of the Empire yet once more. But as it stands, Marienburg is separate, and the trade flowing for this region do provide a lot of fortune for the rest of the Empire. As you can see, this is a vast map, and there are a fair few things to talk about. Let's go from the attacking point of view, as you need a large army to crack this city. First is that huge wall to negotiate, but the deployment zone is all the way along, so you can pick a place to rush, or numerous places depending on how committed the defence is. From there you have two places to cross, both of which are far apart, so you may only have to commit to one point. If you have a number, commit to both. Then it's a maze of narrow streets with 3 capture points, 2 in the main area of the city. The west one is a bit harder to get to, as there are a lot of narrow streets to go up or around, while the other is more in the centre and has wide streets to allow you to access it. The last one is over another couple of narrow bridges to finally force that last stand. It'll be a bloody, grindy affair. Defence, as you might have guessed, is planning which way to funnel the armies. Abandoning the wall from the off is Riky the best course, as you can then set about holding key points. Bridges being the first to get your best defensive troops and knock it up each side. Sadly, there's no easy overwatch places for your missiles, but you could have a unit of artillery blasted down as the roads are nice and straight leading up to these bridges. Then the problems start, as you have to try to second guess where your enemy is going, as the map is so large. Foot infantry will need careful positioning, and having a floating cavalry force at the back is advisable. This way you can quickly reinforce any area which is struggling. A fascinating battle with lots of strategy from a truly epic map. Middenheim is one of the most fortified cities in the old world, sometimes called the City of the White Wolf, and is to the north of Altdorf and home to the Cult of Ulrich. Founded before the Empire was formed, on a mountain which towers over the surrounding Ddraig. With no towers on the walls, this is quite a strange settlement to defend, as only small sections of the wall which the enemy can actually attack, or the 2 main gates. There is a couple of towers inside the city, which can provide some fire support, but other than that, it's an old school fashioned battle. With such a wide deployment zone, the enemy can come at you from almost all sides. So how I would set up a defence is to protect the key walls with gates, as they are likely to be the main focus of the attack, and then position 2 groups of units in the centre as relief armies. So if a place is struggling, you can send reinforcements to that place. There are numerous high points to provide good fields of fire, so make sure they are manned. Another feature for the defence, there's only one capture point, meaning you got a clear fallback position. Lastly, a lot of the paths around Middenheim are wide and they have full cavalry charges, so use this to your advantage. Attacking is simply a mixed bag. A lot of places to attack, and no towers means you can choose carefully. A good artillery force will certainly help break a few holes in the wall, and then you can throw into the city from there. As there's so much room for your troops Remember to bring your own elite cav forces for your faction to allow you to counter the enemy. If only one capture point is an issue, but at least you can focus your entire force into one place, splitting it up slightly to take advantage of the few routes to get to the goal. Right at the bottom of Yustra is the region of the Spine of Sotek, one of the favourite locations for dwarves far from home. Naturally, they are attracted to the prospect of iron, and are willing to face the wrath of the Isman for it. A smaller settlement this time, and a straightforward attack, pick 2 walls, and then try to overrun the defenders. There's no great finesse, and you can push wide of the west wall to get a better surround on. The defence has the work cut out, but there is bases all around the settlement, so manning these can cause damage on the way in. Falling back into the settlement has a few options to defend, but not many, and the one capture point is probably the easiest place to defend. Naggarond, or the City of Cold, is the largest and oldest of the Dark Elf cities, set in the Iron Mountains, and is of course the starting place for Malekith. Known to have severed heads on the mighty towers which form the city, and who knows what horrors happen inside these walls. Its impressive map is a huge and difficult place to attack, as it should be for the home of the Dark Elves. The east wall is the main point of possible attack, a huge wall lining the entire length of the map. Then there's a smaller second wall to the west, which gives you options, but I tend to go on all-out attack on the east, and then spread your forces all the way down the wall. If you get in, there are wide walls to go through, and 4 capture points, meaning you have to spread your forces wide to stretch your defence as much as you can. For 2 points to the south, there are 2 choke points on the eastern side, so moving some units around as you go to the north point, and then you can split off to help force your way in. From there, it's a case of flooding the map and hunting out the Alistair defenders. While on defence, it's not the easiest place to defend, as the large map causes you to stretch your army thin. If the enemy are only attacking one side, you would think this would make it easier, but because the wall is so long, you have to commit to numerous places at the same time. While the 2 southern points are definitely the easiest places to defend, as there's numerous choke points you can set up. Just south of Altdorf is the famous city of Noon, sometimes referred to as the Jewel of the Empire. It is the second largest city, and focuses on the manufacturer and the export of munitions to the rest of the Empire, so it is unsurprising the title of Noon is Army of the Empire. If you want a city with narrow roads, this is it. Cavalry will struggle in Noon, so defending it is going to be mainly on foot. There's a few places to get around for the cav, and they are helpful, as this is a huge map, but do not rely on them. There is 3 ways to attack Noon. Southwest is the largest appointment zone and the most inviting, then there's the small ones to the southeast and to the northwest. They're limited to how many troops you can put effectively here, so the main focus should be southwest. But having a dedicated elite force attacking one of the other walls is possible, but due to the huge distances involved, they're likely going to be fighting on their own for the vast proportion of the siege. As when you do finally break through in the southwest, joining up with these other forces can be a bit of an issue. Once into the settlement, as a defender, you need to stop any attack from the north, as this is the most direct route to the main part of the settlement. If you can crush that, then you can block up both bridges to this part. There's a couple of places to set up a nice artillery position to allow you to shoot down these bridges. Between the bridge battles, it's all street fighting, and all they have to do is use troops to block up the paths. The north part provides ways to get around to attack the flanks, so be aware the opposition can definitely do that as well, so make sure you're blocking up these places where flanking attacks are likely. With the 4 capture points all over the map, you need to hold as long as you can and cause maximum damage to hopefully rout the enemy before they get in too deep. As it goes without saying, you need a huge force to take Noon. Near to the Vampire Islands of Sylvania is Oakenhammer. It is a strong Karak to block this route up to the mountains to the west of the Dwarf Empire. It is a small settlement, but a vital one to keep an eye on those vampires. It is a very interesting place to defend, compared to the large settlements we've been looking at previously. The attacks all come from the east, and the walls have no turrets, but there is a couple of damaging attacks from inside the gates. For attackers, there are there are 3 main places to attack, 2 on the east wall, or go up and around to attack the north gate. From there you can enter the main settlement, but there's another level inside the walls, so expect missiles to rain down from these places. Running 2 ways up, both of which can be easily defended, and then you can have crossfire from the missiles, means it's a small but a very defendable map. And on the right mix of troops for defence, you can hold pretty well even against a greater force. The capture points are mainly on the top tier, so you have to get a foothold on the bottom before you can break up to attack the top tier. Paravon is one of the places of Bretonnia which has the highest population of Pegasi, as it is a very mountainous region, which is especially where they like to live. There's a territory covered in forest as well, and it's very close to the Athioran forest, meaning it's an uneasy peace between Bretonnia and the Wood Elves holds as long as they keep to themselves. As you might expect from a Bretonnian settlement, there are wide roads inside the castle, allowing the famous cavalry to make their charges if they breach the walls. When it comes to attacking, there are 3 ways in: northeast and 7 gates are all decent ways in, with no real advantage to any of them. Whether you defend these areas is a matter of debate, and you can damage the walls but not the actual gatehouse, so it has to be scaled or knocked down. 2 attacks against either gate would be good enough, and getting around the north gate is a bit more difficult, allowing the defender to concentrate their forces to block up the other 2, and you can easily move or easily force to the north gate if you see the enemy swing around. Those wide roads allow well-timed charges into the enemy when they break the walls down. As the attackers make their way up to the victory point at the top of the castle, use your cavalry to weaken the troops as they come through, and then you can circle around. However, once you are at the last victory point, there's not many options for the enemy at all, as there's only a small gatehouse. So block this up with your troops, and then position some missile units behind them, and then grind the last few down. Hopefully, by then, there'll be such a sufficiently weakened attack. Port Alistair can be found in the Sapphire region of the inner part of Overthran. It is located near the Tower of Hoeth, which is the capital of its region. Port Alistair itself is south of this tower, and the area is rich in the winds of magic, and is known to attract eager elves hoping to be accepted into the Order of the Sword Masters. This simple map, but high on detail, has 2 main walls, the narrow one to the west, and the main southern one, which has numerous towers, and behind this there's a high hill, perfect for the elven archers to stand and rain down shots as the attackers get through the first defence. With that in mind, the southern wall does not need a huge amount of defenders, and you can provide a token amount to get some damage from the towers and then fall back to hold this hill. There are ways around this hill, so be aware, you might have to knock down them as well. The west wall is a much more straightforward place to defend, as it's just a straight route from the wall to the centre of the settlement, so positioning a bolt thrower at the end of this road is the perfect place. Attacking wise, the southern wall is a problem due to that great defence hill, so if you can get your troops in there fast and knock down the defenders, this advantage is nullified. If you capture that point, you can then flood in and maybe send some fast troops around to the east to come up at the capture point from the side. The infamous Free City of Saratoga, or simply the City of Pirates, is a stronghold in the southern tier, and of course filled with criminals and mercenaries, all looking for work. Unsurprisingly, it's one of the most dangerous cities in the old world. Saratoga itself has 3 main ways in, and you need to cover a lot of ground to get to these entrances. The west entrance is the closest one to the capture point, but it's a long trek up the hill, meaning siege towers will be doubtful to get there, so unless you've got some large monsters to take down the doors, it's going to be adders on the walls, meaning you're very open to miss attacks as you go up the hill. The other 2 are more straightforward. The main southern wall is a long wall over open ground with 2 towers guarding the entrance, but you should be able to get a number of your siege towers to the walls. While the third entrance is up on the hill, but it's the shortest route to the wall. But it's very narrow, meaning it could be open to any artillery coming from the city. When you're inside the city, the west side has some narrow streets, while the east is more open with large roads. Meaning, if you have a strong cavalry force, the east side is the place to attack, allowing you to challenge down the hill into the main part of a settlement. Then you can send some other units to capture the point to the northeast. Defending is the case of how many you want to man the wall to the west, and it's the ideal place to put your missile units so they can rain down fire as they go up the long hill. Saying this is obviously the much longer route, so you can have plenty of time to add reinforcements to this wall if needed. The centre part is more likely the main focus of the attack, so make sure this is manned with a couple of units on the walls to get the most out of those siege towers, then fall back into the main city. Where the east is possibly worth abandoning the wall completely, and then there's a crossroads roughly in the centre of the settlement, one leading to the north to where the victory point is, and one of course going to the west. This is a place to hold a great defensive line, as there's only a couple of entrances into this area. Skavenblight, the home of the Skaven Under Empire, and is where the race was created. A huge city infested with thousands of rats. It is actually the largest city by population in the world, so if you plan to attack here, bring a huge force. There's another settlement with a long wall covering it. Surprisingly though, inside are large pathways, and not the cramped places you'd expect from somewhere the Skaven hang out. With 4 entrances, to defend it's not advisable to defend them all, and then just concentrate on weakening one of the attacks, and then position your troops inside, blocking up the other avenues. Stretching your defence too thin will quickly see you overrun, and there are plenty of places to use missile units with clean lines of sight for the artillery. And it's one of the rare siege maps where artillery can really thrive. Falling back to the victory points can be done, but seeing there is only 3, it is maybe best to fall back to 2 and let the enemy take the 3rd, so you can concentrate your defence easier. When attacking, this is another settlement where cavalry is very handy, as there's plenty of room for manoeuvring, so just break through the second line of defence and then run cavalry through this gap, and then they can get deep into the settlement. In the Southlands is where the Sizzleman settlement is, right on the edge of the map, and one of a few settlements down the side of the map owned by the Sizzlemen, and it's close to where Krokgar starts. This impressive map is very much a multiple tier settlement. First off is the huge wall covering the southern side, with tons of towers, but the enemy can attack this particular wall from all sides, so covering this is unlikely be a good long term plan, but can easily get a bit of damage from there. Next we go up to the next tier with only 2 entrances to this tier, so you can easily block this one off and then fall back again to the next tier. Again, there's only 2 entrances as well, so you can commit to attack 2 of these locations. You're all in, as it's quite the walk around if you change your mind. If you have enough forces, it is best to go for both particular entrances, using a smaller force on the weaker flank. The east side is a long way to the victory point, but you can get around the back if things are not going well, so it's definitely a good reason to commit some forces that way. With only 1 victory point, which is unusual on the map of this size, you can easily fall back to this position, as there are only 3 ways into that particular section, and you can block all these routes up to make one epic last stand. Vaera's soul is deep in the Greenskin Lands. Vaera herself was the wife of Grungi and Grimni, and is the goddess of hearth, healing and brewing, and is one of the founders of some of the biggest dwarf holds such as Kazakarak and Karak 8 Peaks. This small settlement is just the same as the map I previously went over for the Mines of the Bearded Skull, just the actual location is slightly different. There are some cliffs outside the settlement, but the same rules apply for defence and attack. In the foothills of the Middle Mountains, Wolfenburg is a city at the crossroads of trade between Empire and Kisrath. Surrounded by the Forest of Shadows, a notorious place where the trees are so close together no Sunite gets in. Wolfenburg is a stronghold for travellers passing through. Some interesting choices here for an attacker. The east side has a large wall to attack and a smaller section right at the southeast point, all accessible for the attacker. The north has another good section of wall to attack, where the rest is only a small section and the towers will be hard pushed to survive get into the walls. So pick a place or 2 to use your towers on the east and north side, and back up that up with infantry and then you can send a strong force to the west gate, as it's the most direct way into the main location of the 2 victory points. Again, we have some nice open roads to allow cavalry free rein to move about, and if you can repel the west gate attack, you have 3 places to block up, but they're all a fair distance from each other. The outer walls are hard to keep, so it might be worth abandoning these walls early on. They block up these points, and have your artillery launch shells at them from a safe place in the island. As with any of these large maps, having a reserve group of units situated in the centre of a map to help shore up a flank is highly advisable, and a mobile cav force is always handy as well. The City of Mists is the second temple city to be founded, and there's many secrets you have to over from the old ones. There's strong links to the elemental arts, and the Swan who live here work hard to keep the mists that hide the city from the outside world. This truly unique map is a circle, so there's some interesting defensive and attacking parts to think about, as it's the only odd choke point with a good straight line of fire. A housing force is ideal to keep pressing the enemy as they go through a city. So the first hurdle for an attacker is their wall, but as yes, a lot of good cover leading up to this particular section, as clear as the Swan don't be even cutting down the trees to give nice clean lines of fire. The small west wall allows access to the outer and inner wings, where the younger southeast wall allows you access to the outer and the inner wing immediately, cutting a bit of travel time off. If you have the speed, you can always send some troops around the outer wings, which can help further down when you get into the inner circles. However, if they're not defending these particular flanks, there's hardly any point, as this is quite a long walk. When you get to the centre, there's only 2 ways in, which means it's highly defensible, and the hit and run tactics you've already used to weaken the attack means maybe a limited amount of units arriving at this point. While holding the wall on this map is actually more doable than other maps, as the smalls are only small, and allowing you to provide numerous fallback points as you go back into the city. Zufbar is located near Slovenia and is tasked to make sure the vampires stay at home. It is a highly mechanised hold and is famous for its metals, and particularly in the mining of Gromny and the producing of weapons. With the arse map of this video, and as you can see, this is quite a map to end on. When it comes to tactics, there's only one way in, down the large main hall, into 2 walled gates, both of which can be destroyed with cannon, but only one is an easy shot for a cannon. So you charge the troops down this path and fall into the hail of firepower of the dwarves. To young Swag, and sadly for defence, you cannot deploy a cannon outside these walls, unless you can quickly get into position. So put missile firepower on the walls and just rain down as much shot as you can. When you do get into a settlement, there's a couple of long straight paths which you can position artillery on. Other than that, the main paths are not complicated inside the crack, and you can put wall blocks on the main routes to weaken the enemy and make them bleed for every path they take. With 3 victory points to hold, the west one being the easiest one to defend, and the one which you're going to fall back to make that last stand. The map is particularly set up for nice long grindy fights which will suit any dwarf. And that's the art for siege maps. So thanks for watching, and next time I visit GCCM I'll be going for the minor settlements. So until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.